Good morning, Hank. It's supposed to be Monday.
But in fact, it's Saturday. Hank, that's Tobin Anderson, world-famous children's book author and winner of the 2006 National Book Award. This is the guide.
What's going on?
Some quick background information. Before Tobin and I met up at a book festival in Kalamazoo, Tobin spent a day in Detroit looking at abandoned buildings, where he randomly met our tour guide. When we tried to fly back to the east on Friday, our flights got cancelled, so we called the guide up and he offered to take us on an urban exploring tour through the ruins of Detroit. As you will see, the guide is something of a genius.
Chicago School Style is down the street further, which is the Lawyer Building, which is currently abandoned. Also Bonner and Chaffee Building. But yeah, best example of Chicago school architecture. So he made a building that could be seen from miles away, that made an impression on people, that didn't just blend in, it stuck out.
Hank, that's the Eastern Wig and Hair Company. We're gonna go in it, I think, but not in the traditional way. Okay, so that didn't work, Hank, and I'll tell you why. The owner of the building happened to drive by while Tobin was pulling down the fire escape. And then I pretended that we were making a movie, presumably entitled The Story of Tobin Pulling Down a Fire Escape. And then the woman let us go. Hank, I'm in an abandoned building. I'm feeling some anxiety. Yeah, I wonder what that says, loyalty,
Honor and fidelity. On the question of abandonment,
yes.
I wonder why there are so many lights on.
It means it could be a caretaker, you know, it could come on and check on it. I mean, not every day.
A quick disclaimer, although I assume this goes without saying. Just because I broke into an abandoned building doesn't mean that I generally consider it to be a good idea. The circumstances were extraordinary. I mean, okay, here's the deal. If you find yourself with the reigning National Book Award winner and a 17-year-old architectural genius, then you can break into abandoned buildings. Otherwise, it's not ethical. Oh, man.
The Prince Honor winner eats a Nutri-Grain bar in a bathtub in a building in Detroit.
I'm cold.
Is it a happy place, Tobin? Does it feel safe?
No, because there are holes at that end of the floor. Look.
Oh shit. The guide is a photographer, and he comes to these buildings partially to shoot them. Tobin, someone in here has played repeated games of tic-tac-toe.
And clearly the O's have mad skills. We heard people walking around, we heard people talking, we had to flee. You can tell John's anxiety from the fact that the camera is shuddering like a dove giving birth.
Okay, we're now entering the United Artists Theater, designed by C. Howard Crane in a Spanish Gothic style. We're currently in the lobby. So take a couple steps in here.
I'm using the camera light to see where I'm going. Everything is covered in ice. It's actually thin.
We're in a kind of a rotunda with a line of mirrors around the upper edge. The floor is all ice.
The light is starting to come through and you can see the skeleton of the building where the plaster is all fallen away. If you hear that screeching, I think that's rodents. Or is it vampires?
You know, I'm on the stage now. Dies ira, dies il, solvit cyclum in favilla, teste David cum sabila.
Hank, this is some of the stuff that has fallen already, which should probably make me think twice, come to think of it. But it's just layers and layers of rubble.
Hank, once I got past the anxiety of being someplace I shouldn't be, I started to think about the ruins themselves, the eerie beauty of the ice-encrusted decay. To the tour guide, the ruins seemed to represent a failure to recognize and use the gifts of the past. To Tobin, they also spoke of the inevitability of it all, this stark reminder that one day, every building will be ruins. I felt a mix of anxiety and reverence that I haven't felt since I worked at the hospital. I kept slipping up and calling it the cathedral instead of the theater.
I think we're in the office building next door now. Our tour guide has taken us here.
National Geographic from 1968. Iran's Shah crowns himself in glittering Tehran. It was a very different time.
All right, go ahead, guys. Oh, man. It's like never-ending ruins. Look at this, Tobin, the staircase to nowhere.
Now pull it back open. Do the same thing.
It's heavy, huh? Yeah. Look at all these safe deposit boxes. Some of them half removed. So how are we going to get out of here?
We're gonna open up the door, walk out the door, walk down the sidewalk to a fence that will lift up, and we slip under. Go through the troll hole.
All right, first we have to go through the troll hole again. Hank, we just came through a hole in that fence. We went into that theater, and then into this office building. Hank, this is what the theater used to look like that we were in today. Wow. It does, I mean, you can tell that it's the same place, but just barely.
Yeah, I mean, that's decayed beyond recognition for the most part. And
oh, you go.
There's the stage.
You can see...
Wow, look at all the seats that were in there.
So you can see the details that were stolen out by the scrappers, whatever. Like...
Hey, Hank, tell me if this place looks familiar.
Man, you know, the most frightening thing about that whole experience in the theater was there was one point at which I came around the corner and I saw kind of like a Quasimodo-like figure, you know, kind of like this, and I just, oh, I'm sorry, oh.
I don't know what he's talking about.